Okay, the recording is starting. All right, so I'm going to introduce Rita Lampe. We're very fortunate to have her this evening. Rita is an MSW LCSW. She is, which means she's a licensed clinical social worker who works with children, adolescents, couples, and families. She presently works at Village Center for Holistic Therapy, where she provides both psychotherapy and energy balancing and healing work. She is also a certified Eden Energy Medicine practitioner and provides hands-on sessions as well as remote coaching sessions to help people work with their body's electromagnetic energy fields and bring health and balance to their energetic systems. She has found that integrating this work into her therapeutic practice has helped clients in their overall wellness and healing. Rita has worked in a variety of mental health settings, both inpatient and outpatient, over the course of her more than 35 years in the field. She's had particular interest over the past 20 years working with children and families experiencing grief and loss issues related to illness, death, divorce, adoption, and other significant trauma, and those suffering from chronic illness and pain. Rita has also considerable clinical experience working with individuals experiencing anxiety, depression, and life transitions, as well as survivors of childhood abuse. She's completed basic training in EMDR, a clinically researched trauma healing modality, and utilizes this within a trauma-informed framework. Additional areas of focus include couples dealing with intimacy issues, infertility, and those considering divorce. Rita utilizes a very dynamic, interactive, and relationship-focused approach to therapy. She considers herself a holistic therapist, working in a multidisciplinary way with clients focusing on the body, mind, and spirit. This includes utilizing a variety of therapeutic approaches, some of which include family systems, solution-focused, emotional-focused, trauma-informed care, and crisis intervention. She is a native of St. Louis, Missouri, and moved to Pittsburgh in 1998 with her husband and 2 children. She graduated with her bachelor's degree from St. Louis University with a double major of social work and Spanish, neat combination, and then earned her master's of social work degree from the University of Illinois. Rita spent a semester studying in Spain and then 2 years working with the Latino community in Chicago. And she is fluent in Spanish. Rita enjoys hosting international visitors, traveling abroad, and being with family. She is also a longtime yoga practitioner, loves free-form dancing. Finally, Rita is also the Director of Social Services and Managing Director of the International Family Services Pennsylvania office, where she works with families who are pursuing domestic and international adoption. So with that wonderful, resume, which we were blessed to have her here, I want to introduce yet again to you guys, Rita Lampe. So welcome, Rita, you're on.
Hi, Wendy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for showing up tonight on this rainy Wednesday. I was here a year ago, almost May, and did a little intro into what is energy medicine and how can it be included in a holistic wellness plan. And that, in conversations since then, I'm really honored that I'll be kind of part of this therapeutic wellness program for everyone that comes to the Cancer Caring Center, and even I guess those that don't. I don't know if they can come in from outside, but once a month we'll be doing shorter versions of this. I'm going to work on real specific skills. I'm a very skill-based person. I like to teach people things that they can do for themselves. For me, that makes me feel like I'm helping others feel more empowered to take their own health into their own hands, whether it's mental health or physical health or spiritual health. So that's one of the reasons I was trained, and I love and have a big passion for Eden Energy Medicine. So Eden Energy Medicine was started by Donna Eden. She started doing this work probably 30, 40 years ago, but we became a certified school about 12 years ago. So there's only about maybe 1,700 certified practitioners in the world right now. So that's kind of a big honor for me to be one of them. And basically what Eden Energy Medicine is, it's a healing modality. It's based on traditional Chinese medicine and therapeutic touch. So if you know anything about traditional Chinese medicine, the best way to describe it is it's what acupuncturists study as well. So they study the way that the body has energy and moves energy in their body. And the practice is to help balance the body's energies and provide access to the body's own healing abilities. Okay. So, energy medicine and other healing energy techniques is recognized by National Institute of Health as a complementary alternative medicine. And I'm a big believer in combining as many things as possible for a holistic way of practicing, not only in my own work, but in my own life. So, we have traditional medicine. We need to go get an antibiotic. Some of us are getting vaccines for COVID. We have that piece, and that comes from more of the what we call the Western medicine. And energy practices tend to come more from the Eastern medicine world. And Chinese medicine is the biggest one that that has been studied the longest. Many hundreds of years, and it is very deep and very profound work. So what I do on a hands-on session, but actually during COVID, we ended up switching and doing a lot of stuff online. I did most of my sessions virtual last year, and I'm still doing virtual sessions because there's a way to assess people's energies even virtually. Okay. So we're assessing any energetic disturbances in the body and the energy fields. And then we work to facilitate harmony and balance in those systems. So we use a variety of ways to do that with energy testing, mainly from the field of applied kinesiology, along with the use of touch. And so in an actual hands-on session where I'm using my hands and to do different things in terms of balancing energy. But in the virtual sessions and in these sessions, I'm going to teach you all how to do things for yourself. So tonight, I think what I want to focus on is just give you some more background about this and then tell you really why I'm so excited about working with this community. Because Donna Eden, who kind of took all she knew and expanded on it. She did that because she was ill herself. She was in her 30s and she had already been diagnosed with MS in her late teens. She was married and had 2 young kids. She had a mild heart attack, and she also had cancer. And the doctor basically said, "You're pretty sick." And she said, "Well, I got to stay alive for my kids." So she started researching and doing more and more research in this alternative way of healing, with energy healing, and did a lot of work on herself for about 2 years. And in that process, learned a ton more than what that she was able to then start to work with others. She's 78 years old. She does not have cancer. She doesn't have MS, and she's never suffered another heart attack. But what she realized was that working with the energetic body, both we have energy moving through us, we have energy all around us, was a big missing piece of people's health. That the energetic part of the body, if it's not in harmony with the physical body, then the physical body doesn't have the chance to get as well as it could. Okay, even with utilizations of medicine, if the energy pieces are unbalanced or not in harmony, the body's not able to metabolize or utilize that medicine to its fullest degree. So when you start looking at energy and understanding what it is, you go back to Albert Einstein, energy equals mc squared, right? But we all have energy. We're like little light bulbs. And our bodies emit this electromagnetic energy, okay? And they've studied this in many different ways, okay? Different people have studied it over hundreds of years. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with any of this language, so that's why I'm trying to kind of be more general. But there was a guy back in 1930s, he was a neuroanatomist at Yale, and he studied this energy. So like I said, this has been studied for a very long time. And energy fields, and found that electromagnetic fields surround all manner of organisms, from molds to plants to frogs to humans. He was also able to distinguish electrical patterns that corresponded with health and illness. So he was able to see a pattern in these energy fields that was like, oh, that's healthy. And then he could also distinguish when the patterns of this energy changed, which meant that energy field was now producing a potential illness. So Eden Energy Medicine works with 9 different energy systems, and which is a little bit different than it's an acupuncture. Acupuncture typically works with mainly 2. They work with a system called the meridians, which are energy pathways that move up and down in the body and are connected to organs and organ systems. And that's where acupuncturists put needles on different parts of your body. They're working with those pathways to balance them. And and that's pretty cool work. We do the same thing, but we don't use needles. We just use acupressure. Acupuncturists also study the 5 rhythms, which is another whole modality of Chinese medicine. But in our work, we study the meridians, and we study an energy system called the chakras. You may or may not have heard them. In yoga, people talk about chakras all the time. There's 7 energy systems that go up and down the body. The chakras energy systems are related primarily to emotions, but they also relate to the physical body. We also study something called radiant circuits, the aura. You may have heard of the aura, which is this energy field around us. And that's pretty much what Harold Burr studied, this bioenergetic field around us. There's something called the electrical system of the body, which is related to the heart and the heart rhythms, and a couple of others that we'll talk about later. So, and there's multiple ways to access these energy systems. There are points on the body, like I mentioned, like the acupuncturists use, and that's where energy flows through. So if there's a block in that, and I always describe it to people as almost like like veins and arteries. Sometimes there can be a block in there. There can be, these energy pathways can have blocks too, and we can work to remove those blocks with the work that we do. But they're entries into the energy moving into the body and in and out of the body. So on a normal session, if I was working with you in person, I would assess your energies and we'd correct for any energy imbalances. We'd come up with a particular protocol that would be specific to you based on what your body's telling us is going on. Okay. So that's why I love this work too, because it's very, very specific to someone's body. And it's not just, some energy practices are you go in and someone just lays their hands on you and then the next person comes in, they do the same thing. So it's not as specific to that person's specific stuff that's happening at that moment. So I wanted to get back to Donna for a minute and what happened with her. Because she did this on her own self, she learned a lot. And then she worked with thousands of clients before she actually started the school and wrote her first book, which is called Energy Medicine. But what she learned in working on herself and also with all these other people, because a lot of sick people, a lot of physically ill people ended up coming to her just through word of mouth, is that there are some weaknesses in primary energy systems that with people who are particularly ill and that they're out of balance, and particular people with cancer, because she knew that about herself and she worked on a lot of people. And so those systems are some of the things I'm going to focus on in the subsequent sessions coming up, but one is the spleen. Okay, so our spleen is an organ that helps with our immune system. So, if the spleen is out of balance or doesn't have enough energy, it's not functioning to help our immune system fight off anything. So she noticed that a lot of people with chronic illness, in particular cancer, had a really, really weak spleen energy. Okay, so when I work, and I do work with some folks who have cancer in the process of treatment for cancer, I've worked with probably 4 or 5 now. It's true, when I assess them, their spleen is usually pretty weak. Okay, and so we work on strengthening the spleen, and there's real specific ways to do that. The second thing she noticed was the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is that big muscle that comes down underneath under the rib cage, and the diaphragm tends to get really tight and not fluid, not moving. And why does that happen? Well, typically when someone gets to the point of having disease, it's not something that happens overnight. It's years of chronic stress typically is a big part of that. But also we live in a world, okay, that's very different than it was 100 years ago, 300 years ago, even, 1,000 years ago. We have a lot more chemicals in our air, in our food, in our water. We have a lot of more man-made electromagnetic things like computers and phones. And then we have these bigger stresses, and we have a way of living that is very disconnected from the land and from the earth. So we're not very grounded to the earth. That's another thing I'm going to work on later, is talking about grounding and why that's really important in healing. So all of those things kind of come together and add up to what we call a heavy load in the body. And the technical term for that is allostatic load. Okay. So it's a heavy load in the body, and the body is going to react at some point in time. It's going to talk back and say, hey, wake up. I can't do this anymore. Okay. Whether it's chosen chemicals that we put in our body, or whether it's that we live by a big company that produces a lot of smoke. And in Pittsburgh, we have that. We've had the steel mills, we've had the coal mining, we have the fracking, and there's evidence to show that people who are living around there, that the asthma levels have gone up and other chemicals get into the water system. So we have all this stuff going on. But what happens is the diaphragm under stress and trauma freezes. It just locks up. And then when that happens, we are not breathing. Okay, we're not breathing fully. We're breathing, obviously, or we'd be dead, but we are not breathing functionally. Okay, so, disease never lives in a well oxygenated body. But if the body doesn't have good oxygen flowing through it, it's like any other block. It's not able to, because oxygen and breath moves toxins out of the body too. But if the diaphragm's stuck and it's not able to do that, another way that the toxins stay in our body. So she noticed that the diaphragm needed to be worked on. And there's really simple ways to work with freeing the diaphragm up and allowing it to move again and really bring in full breaths, full oxygen. The third thing that she noticed, working on herself and thousands of other people, was that one of the other energy pathways that we work with and Chinese medicine works with is called the triple warmer. Don't ask me why they named it that, but the triple warmer is basically the adrenal gland system, our fight or flight system, our stress response system. Okay. So what she noticed was people came in with a lot too much energy in that fight or flight system because they were so stressed. And some people say, well, I don't really feel stressed, or I don't have a lot of trauma in my background. But just our daily lifestyle here, and particularly in the US, but in many other places in the world, of, only 2 weeks of vacation a year, getting up at 7 a.m., running, coming home, and there's not a lot of downtime. So that body's way, but the body needs rest. Okay. And when triple warmer is really high, that adrenal gland system is going, it doesn't get enough rest. And other things affect the adrenal gland system. Stress is the biggest one. Trauma is another one. Caffeine's another one. And not enough rest and poor sleep. So when we see this system of the adrenal gland system being really high, I always talk about it as the volume is really loud. All these systems work in harmony with each other, and all our organs do too, right? So if that's really high, what Donna noticed is it kind of sucks energy out of that spleen. So there's a correlation. There's a synchronicity. There's I think of it as a teeter-totter from the old playgrounds we used to grow up on, between the adrenal gland system and the spleen. So if adrenal glands are they're really working really, really hard, the spleen starts to lose energy. So she noticed that we have to work with them together to create some balance with them, so that the triple warmer can calm down and the spleen can get stronger. And then the fourth thing that she noticed was again, we're talking about how do you get toxins out of the body, right? Even including some of the medicines we're taking, they're good for us, but if they get stuck in the body and they build up, then they can also create, another problem. So there's these valves in the digestive system, and they come down. I'll stand up and show you. They come down kind of from here inside the hip bones, and they go down into the colon and the large intestine, or small intestine, and they're called the ileocecal and the Houston valves. And they tend to get blocked, and they tend to get blocked energy, is what I'm talking when I say blocked. The energy is blocked, and that will cause the body to not be able to eliminate through having bowel movements as well, or eliminate the toxins. So she noticed they were stuck a lot with people who had chronic illness. So there's a way I can teach you to free that up. Very simple things. This is why I love this work. Simple things, being able to talk with our bodies and strengthen our body's energetic system, which will help our physical bodies be able to do what they do best, right? Our physical bodies do have an innate way of knowing how to work and heal itself. But when it gets overwhelmed and stressed and blocked, it is not functioning as well. So we can help it function better. The two other things she noticed was the aura, which I mentioned, which is this, and I call it this protective bubble, goes out to our fingertips and all around us from the top to the bottom. And if you think about it, the baby in utero is in this beautiful placenta, right? It's kind of protected and it's safe, and it comes out into the world. Now imagine a baby being nice and protected with this placenta, and it's now out in the world and has no protection. Well, that would be pretty scary, right? So it is scary for the baby anyway, because it's coming into this brand new space. But every human has this energy protection around them, which is called the aura. Okay, babies actually have it for 3 months. They have a lot stronger one, but then it kind of fades. But the aura is the first line of defense to staying well, Donna talks about. And it's some simple techniques. And sometimes people say, oh, that sounds like, hocus pocus, but it's really not hocus pocus. You can say it is, and you can, but if you practice, if you do the exercises that actually strengthen this energy field, we can actually talk to this energy field. You can feel the difference. You can notice a difference. So there's really simple ways to test the aura to see if it's weak, because sometimes I describe it as an energy bubble. Like, I think about, you had a big piece of plastic wrap around you, we'll say, but you go into the world and you're bumping into other people, or other people are poking on you. And so this plastic kind of can get weak and it can collapse in. So there's ways to strengthen it, to move it out again and keep it strong. When that's that way, then our bodies have a better line of defense into not taking into these environmental toxins, whether it's physical toxins or emotional toxins, because there's a lot of emotional toxins out there too. Being around negative people, being around people who spew a lot of negativity or a lot of hate, or whatever you want to call it, is also toxic to our bodies and our souls and our minds. So this aura can be a protective force to not let that stuff kind of penetrate so deeply within us. And then the last thing that she talks about in particular, because there's so much wealth of knowledge and information here, but I'm not going to go into everything tonight, is something called the electrical system, which I mentioned before, and grounding. So just like lights that have to be plugged in and into the wall, and there's that little grounding port that that third little thing, when you plug in the light, there's a little, sometimes a 3-prong, that's grounding that electricity to the earth. Okay, so there's a grounding rod in the earth, okay, so that the electrical system doesn't go haywire. It stays grounded to that earth. Humans have the same need to be grounded to the earth. And there's been a lot of studies about this. I'm not going to go into them. You're welcome to go research them on your own. But the term that they use is earthing, okay, or grounding. So, it wasn't, for thousands of years, humans did not really wear rubber-soled shoes, right? We wore either leather-based shoes, or we wore no shoes, in some communities. But we didn't have rubber on the bottom of our feet for a long, long time. And what happened once we started wearing rubber on the bottom of our feet, our feet could not get grounded to that space in the earth. The earth has a lot of energy, an electronical energy that comes into the body when we stand on it, that helps the body regulate and helps it stay grounded, on a magnetic force field way. So when we wear rubber shoes all the time, we're not getting that. So we kind of get disconnected from the earth. One of the huge benefits of grounding, and I have a person who I see, and she was going to show up tonight, but I think she had something going on, is that it decreases inflammation in the body. Okay. There's a lot of research on it. I don't want to go into it right now, because we can do that when I have I'm going to do a specific luncheon series only on grounding. So we're going to get really deep into what that's about and how to do it. It's probably going to be the first one I do, because it's so important. But one of the biggest things that grounding does for us is it decreases inflammation in the body. And I'm speaking from experience, because I had a lot of hip pain and inflammation in my hips and my joints. And when I started reading about this, and I did some work with that, both standing on the earth barefoot, but also there's products now you can purchase that are called earthing mats. And I thought, I'm just going to do the experiment. I read about it, and actually professional athletes use these, and it helps them heal quicker from injuries. The Tour de France people use it a lot. I thought, what the heck? It's going to cost me $50. I'm going to try it. And, if it's hocus pocus, I'll find out if it is. But if it's not, if it works, then maybe my body will feel better. So I bought a couple earthing mats, and I actually am sitting on one now. So you can sit on them, you can put them on the floor, and you can put your feet on them. But there's a little plug that plugs into that third little thing in the electrical outlet. So it connects to the grounding port. And so it's pulling up that grounding energy. Now that kind of sounds kind of strange, but all I can say is it helped my body. And maybe you can say it's the placebo effect. I don't care if it is. I feel better. I can get up out of bed and I don't creak and feel 80 years old. And going to be 58 next month. But the biggest experiment I did that made me go, oh, okay, I really believe this stuff now, is my husband and I ride a tandem bicycle. And we did a really long ride. It was like a 75-mile ride. And Pittsburgh riding, we're going up and down hills. So it was a tough ride, and we were both pretty sore. I did come home and I did take a bath. He didn't. And I had my grounding mat in my bed, and he doesn't have one. And the next morning, I fully anticipated that I would get up and my quads would hurt and I would be sore. I really thought, gosh, this was hard workout. I'm going to be sore, but maybe I'll be less sore. But I got out of bed and I walked down the steps. And if you've ever done a hard workout, the biggest telltale sign is when you walk up and down steps. If your muscles are going to hurt, nothing. I felt no pain. And I was like, whoa, I was blown away. And my husband got out of bed and he's like, oh, he's like, a lot of pain. I'm like, haha, I don't have any pain. So I was pretty hooked at that point on this whole earthing thing and this grounding thing. And so I practiced it quite a bit now, and I use those. I sleep with one, I sit on one, and I still find that it makes a big difference in decreasing the inflammation in my body. So on that note, this woman that I'm seeing that is part of this group, the first thing I talked to her about, of course, was grounding. And because her body, when I first saw her, had a lot of issues going on. And I said, do you ever take your shoes off? And she said, no, I never take my shoes off. I get up in the morning and I put my shoes on. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, maybe that's why you have some of these issues, because your body's not getting that grounding. So I did my little educational spiel with her, and she was all in, and she went and did her thing and bought her stuff. And of course, she's doing other holistic things too, right? She's changed her diet and she's doing some other nice, wonderful things for herself. But she started walking barefoot quite a bit, both here and down in Florida, where she goes for part of the winter. And lo and behold, when she went back for one of her doctor's appointments and they did the full, blood work, and they did the blood work for inflammation markers, they were way down in a normal range. And she was blown away by that. And her body she had a lot of pain in her back, no more pain. Once she started doing that, no more pain. So, I'm not saying this is any miracle cure. All I'm saying is that it lowers inflammation in the body. And we all know that inflammation in the body is one of the precursors to many, many illnesses, including cancer, including autoimmune disease, of course, arthritis and all of that stuff. So I just want to be really clear about that. And we'll talk more about it if you decide to come on the first Wednesday of May when we do our first little educational seminar. So those are the areas that Donna noticed needed a lot of work for people who were struggling with chronic illness. So that's sort of where I see myself headed with you all in terms of educating you about how to work with your own body's energy systems, how you can make a difference in doing simple things, simple exercises. Donna's created something called the Daily Energy Routine, which is a series of about 8 little exercises. And I do them every day, and they take less than 5 minutes. So again, these are simple things. It's almost like, and I describe it to folks as, you get up, You shower sometimes, some days, sometimes you shower in the morning, sometimes you shower at night, but you take care of your physical hygiene. You brush your teeth, you eat, we do these things to take care of our physical body. This is our way of taking care of our energetic body. And when we take care of both the energetic body and the physical body, and they become more harmonious and together, wow. I mean, I've seen miracles happen. I mean, I'm not kidding. I've seen my teachers, a lot of the people that are drawn to the work that I do have been very ill people, and they've made some big changes in their life. So that's kind of what I want to do with this group as we move forward, is to break down the things I just went over and give you real specific exercises to do. So that it's not overwhelming, because I've studied this for 3 years. I'm going on my 4th year. So I'm now at the clinical level of certification. And then next year, or this year, when I go in the summer, it'll be in two courses. I'll be an advanced practitioner. But the bottom line is that it's a lot of material. It's 4 years of deep, deep work. And I just want to break it down into small little increments, work on the stuff that Donna says is most important when we're talking about healing from chronic illness, and particularly cancer. So on that note, I want to teach you a couple exercises real quick, because I know it's getting to be about 1:15, and I know you might have some questions. But when we talked about triple warmer, okay, that's the adrenal gland fight or flight thing. That's something I see not just with people who have chronic illness, but everybody. Most people in the world have elevated adrenal gland system. And if they might be fine one day, but the next day something might happen, and the volume's going to go way up, and they're going to feel this rush of adrenaline, and cortisol that goes off in the body. So there's an exercise that I love to do, and it's called the triple warmer smoothie. And what that means is we're going to trace this energy pathway of this triple warmer that's connected to the adrenal gland system. We're going to trace it backwards, and that kind of sedates it, that takes it down. It kind of turns the volume down. It calms the body down. Okay, so I'm going to use this. I use it every day, but I'm getting my second vaccine on Friday. So prior to going to get that, I am going to be doing this multiple times. So I walk in to get that vaccine in a very calm place. So is everybody game to try this little exercise before we end? Okay. So we're going to rub our hands together like this. And whenever you rub your hands together, of course, we're creating some friction, which is also energy, right? And you're going to feel some warmth. And then we're going to place our thumbs on our temples and our hands on our forehead like this. And then we're going to just kind of rest like this. And we're going to take a couple long breaths, and you can do an exhale through your mouth if you want to. Sounds and certain exhale sounds are also ways that we move and regulate energy. So I'm going to inhale, and I'm going to make the ah sound, going ah, just like at the end of the day when you're sitting down in your chair or you're getting in the bathtub, just that end of the day sigh. And then on the next breath, we're going to take our thumbs and we're going to slowly move them around the back of our ears, and our fingers follow. And you're going to go really slow because the body needs to get the message if we go too fast. And then we're going to come down, and your hands land alongside your neck here. And alongside the neck here, I'm going to stop just for a second to tell you another little tidbit. We have something called the vagus nerve. If you've never heard of the vagus nerve is very involved in the trauma response in your fight or flight system. And it goes from behind here, it goes all the way down and into the abdomen area. But when we are touching the vagus nerve and we're holding it, it's calming that down too. So we're holding the side of the neck. Then you're going to take your hands, cross over in front of your neck, and grab onto the tops of your shoulders if you can do that. So you're kind of giving yourself a little hug. You're going to take another breath and slide your hands down so they're on your elbows now. So you look like kind of I Dream of Jeannie, if you remember that show. And then you take a deep breath, slide your hands all the way down and off one another, and land on the heart. Land your hands on your heart center. And we're going to take another breath. And then from that area, that space, I'm going to stand up so I can show you what I'm doing. We're going to take our hands and trace around the chest down to below the belly button. So our hands land here, and you're going to grab onto that ring finger of one finger, and you're just going to pulse it for about 5 or 10 times. So just kind of squeeze it. And then switch to the other ring finger. And it's so cool that our bodies are so, all these places in our bodies are ways we can communicate with different systems, because here at the beginning of the fourth finger is the beginning of this energy pathway for the adrenal gland system. And where we started up here is the end. So that's why we're starting at the end, because we're taking energy out. We're calming it down. So we're going to do it a couple more times.
We're doing a smoothie, I see, Rita.
Huh?
We're doing a smoothie.
That's right. We are. Did you just show up?
I did just show up, but I saw you doing the smoothie, and I was like, all right.
Oh, I just shared your grounding story with everybody.
Trust me. Hey, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. Like right here, right? I'm all about it.
Yep, I know. So we're going to do that in the first luncheon series, the first Wednesday in May. So, all right, we're going to take our thumbs back to our temples and our hands over here. A couple breaths. You might feel some heat. You might feel some energy moving, but you're also going to feel, and you're going to move now on the next breath, your body start to go, and just calm down. This is a good one to do at the end of the day when you've had a stressful day. Again, before doctor's appointments for sure. Take another breath. Another breath, and slide your hands off. Land on your heart. Let your shoulders relax and take a breath. Trace around that heart and underneath the belly button and squeeze that fourth finger of one hand. Just pump it a couple times while you continue to breathe, and then switch to the other finger. And then we'll do it one last time. 3's a charm, they say. Rub the hands together, thumbs on the temples. Also, this will help you remember it because we were repeating it. And breathe. And then slide those thumbs behind the ears. Hands behind the neck, coming down to that vagus nerve, crossing over at the middle of the neck where the thyroid is actually. And breathe. Slide down to your elbows. Then slide all the way off and land on your heart again. Take a breath. Make that heart around your chest to below the belly button. And hold on to that fourth finger, just pulsing it gently. And breathe. And switch to the other finger. Okay. So that was the triple warmer smoothie. You can see how you feel. You feel a little bit more calm, a little bit more relaxed. I do. I don't know. Sometimes it takes practice for you to start to feel the shifts and changes, but I'm going to kind of stop there and see if you have any questions. And like I said, the first Wednesday is May 5th. I will do focus that first session. I'm going to start with on grounding and earthing and what that's about, and go into more detail about how you do that and work on that. And it'll probably be like 45-minute session, 50-minute, because some people won't be coming during their lunch hour. So anybody have any questions or comments, thoughts?
I'm going to take you off a spotlight, Rita. That was awesome.
Okay.
I am actually needed that. So I feel really good. So I'm going to take you off a spotlight here, and then we'll be able to look at each other, everybody. So
perfect.
Okay, there we go. So we welcome Keith. You hopped on, and hi Gina. Nice to have you on, babe. Glad you're here. So anybody have any questions for Rita? We're so excited. Go ahead, Rich.
In terms of the grounding, and when you say you need to be grounded, do you need to make contact with the ground, like with your skin? Because if you take off your shoes and you have socks on, you're still sort of grounded.
You can get socks on, yeah, but it's preferable to do it barefooted. It actually feels good too.
It's better with skin to the ground or whatever.
Exactly. Better with skin to the ground. And, you can get really creative with it. And then of course, in the cold weather, it's harder to do. There's the grounding mat. Gina's showing you the grounding mat that I'm sitting on, actually. You can get a grounding mat for the winter. Some people get really creative and get sand and put it in a Rubbermaid, or dirt and put it in a Rubbermaid and bring it
Ah,
outside and do it that way. You can also sit against a tree. Sitting against a tree and pulling that earth energy up, and the tree, the tree has lots of earth energy because it's got its roots all the way down. Walking on the beach, Gina knows about that. I just went on a little trip and was in South Carolina, and I'm telling you, my body was in heaven walking on that beach and just sitting there rubbing my feet in the sand. It was so great. So I even brought some sand home. That's what I'm going to do. I'm put a little sand in a Rubbermaid. But yes, preferably that. There's another alternate way I'm going to go into in May. I don't want to give my little trick away until May to do it in the wintertime. Any other thoughts or questions? Thanks, Rich, for your question. That was a good one.
I have another question.
You have another one. Okay.
Well, because like we're in like an internet world, and we're surrounded with Wi-Fi, and most homes now are like saturated with Wi-Fi, so you have the best signal. And what effect does that have on the electrical field? If there is, not that if there is, but if there's an aura around us,
Yeah.
what effect does the Wi-Fi have on,
Awesome question. It does have an effect. And I'll tell you something. I have a couple ideas about that. I can get more. We can actually talk about that at a future session. I'm sitting pretty far back from my computer. So my teachers have said, sit an arm's length away from your computer. Okay. Because your aura goes out to the edge of your fingertips, right? So if you're an arm length away, hopefully you're not getting as much. Okay. But that's the other really important thing about doing energy work, is to clear all that stuff that we've accumulated during the day. It's like, you can't see it, but it's like static, so there's ways to clear that off. There's ways to do this kind of movement to move that stuff. There's also some research that shows that certain kinds of so like you have air filters, right, that kind of filter the air out. Well, there's a stone, and it's this stone here. It's called shungite. It's from Russia. And there's a book and some research done that shungite's made mostly of carbon. And apparently shungite can actually absorb EMFs in your area. Like this little tiny piece, I think, absorbs the EMFs within 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet, but they make bigger pieces. But they've done some studies on that. So it's kind of like your own air filter, but for the EMFs, right? And there's this kind of stuff they've sold for phones. So I have a little thing on my phone. I don't know if it works or not, but if it does, great. If it doesn't, it's not, it's not harming me to spend $10 to get that, or get a piece of shungite and put it by my computer. But the grounding will also help pull out. So there's also, this is a piece of shungite, and this is a piece of soapstone. And I got this up at Appalachian Rock Shop, and holding this, supposedly, this woman says, kind of pulls the EMFs out of your body. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I think you're right. I mean, we need to take breaks from this stuff. Don't talk on your phone like this. Use headphones, use the speaker. Try not to put it so close to your body. But yeah, it's something we have to contend with. We don't really, this is.
I think specifically of the Wi-Fi, because like I said, most times when I get better signal,
right.
I know I install like a mesh network. So
Yeah.
now every room in my house is saturated with Wi-Fi, so I get a great signal.
Yes.
But then, if it was visible, it's probably like all around me,
Probably.
Yeah. But
it's something we just have to contend with. And again, it's why doing the energy work is so important, because it's allowing the body to move all kinds of toxins out of the body. And of course, diet and exercise too. There's drinking a lot of water, staying hydrated, drinking lemon water, that kind of stuff. But it's a concern. Some people do have a concern. Some people are very, very highly sensitive to EMFs. So it's been more of a concern since we've been going completely viral for the last year. We don't get as many breaks.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
Sure. Anybody else?
Regina, can you hold up your book again? Okay, that's what I thought. I just bought it on Amazon
Oh, good.
for my Kindle.
Yeah.
It's actually Rita let me borrow it first, and then I went out and I bought it, and then I actually went as crazy as I bought myself. And there's actually if you get a mat, they actually will sometimes include the book. I think that's what happened with you, Rita. I
Yeah.
actually have earthing sheets. Like I went, oh wow, right? Because I was somebody who never went barefoot, never even heard of this stuff, and the amount once. Between earthing and changing my diet, the amount of inflammation in my body has decreased drastically, and my pain my pain just went away.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
When you first came to see me, you had that lower back pain, remember?
Yes, it was terrible.
It was hard. And you had already started to change your diet, but when you added the earthing to it, I think by 2 weeks later, you didn't have any pain. Wasn't it about 2 weeks?
Yeah, and then you I have my notes too, right? You write to me, but did my cat and cow, so a little bit of yoga thrown in there. I like to call Rita like everything. She does a little yoga, a little meditation. There's all kinds of stuff that's happening whenever I go to appointments with Rita. They're fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's why I love the word holistic, because we're looking at what's the best that we can take from all these awesome, fields of healing, right? I mean, this is something I have a huge passion for, but that doesn't mean I don't pay attention to diet, or don't say yoga can be really helpful too, right? Or don't say, yeah, I'm going to go get the vaccine because I'm still believing in some traditional medicine too, or just physical activity. You all know physical activity is important, even when you can't move. Okay. When people say, well, I have so much pain, I can't move, or I'm in a wheelchair, right? This is why energy work is good too, because even people in wheelchairs can move their energies, and they can move sometimes they can, move unless they're quadriplegic, and even as a quad, they can move a little bit. They can move their neck, so movement is really important. And Gina, you started walking a lot and got a lot more physically active too. So,
and the other thing is, Rita has shown me some things that just today I had to go for scans, right? So I did the smoothie before I went to kind of calm myself down. I did the zip up because I was worried about getting other energies, right? I do my I don't know what these are called, but I do
figure eights, yeah.
So there are simple things, and folks, it just makes me because we're in such an uncontrollable situation. It just makes me feel like I have something that I can control about what I'm doing, and that's all.
Absolutely. And that's why I love this work, because it's a very empowering thing. And all of you, and all, each of us who've had our own issues with whatever, but especially those of you who are going to doctors and are dealing with this kind of chronic pain or chronic illness, it feels like you're out of control. It feels like you have no control. And it feels like everybody else is poking and prodding on you, and you don't get it, there's not a lot of control. It's gotten better over the years, I think, with the Cancer Caring Center and the support that y'all have. But this is a way that you can take back some power and really work with your own bodies and go into a scan and feel calm,
So I think, and I know, Gina's on here, and I, certainly we have a lot of breast cancer peeps, right? That have, they're on a lot of hormone therapies, and those hormone therapies really have played havoc with people's hormones and their pain and their discomfort and their emotions. Rita, how do you see that helping? How can this help them deal with those AI inhibitors? Because that's why I think there should be a whole session that you do that has to do with, because you're going to have, there's so many people that are so struggling with that. And even for some of you that have the prostate cancers, the testicular cancers, that are you're all on those hormone things too. Right. I'm not disregarding my men in this too, because it's too.
Well, there's a whole class we studied hormones and hormone balancing and how to balance that. And with prostate, it's different than breast, right? So with the prostate, we work a lot with the kidneys. Okay. And with the breast cancer stuff, there's a lot, we have a whole cancer and a whole weekend, 5-day deep course on cancer protocols. So there's different ones for different types of stuff going on. But ultimately, the other reality is that everything's connected, right? So if I'm doing an energy assessment on Keith, we'll say, and he has this type of cancer, we'll say, and I'm doing an energy assessment on John. He has the same type of cancer. They're going to come up very different. Their energy assessments are going to be very different, right? There may be some similarities, but I'm going to look at what's coming up for them, what's out of balance for them, right? But there's ways to balance hormones. There's ways to balance the kidney and to help the bladder and the kidney and all of those places where some of this cancer kind of sits, the liver, the spleen, all of that stuff. So yeah, you're right. And there, how to work with helping the body metabolize and utilize the medications better, the hormones better. There, we can test that against each of these energy centers, each of these meridians, and see which one goes out of balance with that medication, and then balance that medication with that particular energy system, and the body can then utilize it better. So that's kind of a short answer for like a lot of material, but yes, there's everybody's going to present differently, even depending on what's going on for them. But there are some specific protocols based on the specific presentation of whatever cancer it is or illness it is.
That's good. Keith, you had your hand up. Yeah.
I did, please, thank you. And thank you very much for that. I'm sorry I got in late. I couldn't get in sooner, but it was very good. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you turn your volume up or get closer?
Okay, how's that? Any better?
A little bit better, yeah.
Okay. Another issue for some people, I do have androgen deprivation therapy. I had stage 4 metastatic prostate cancer, which I'm NED now after 4 years.
Yay.
It's a neuropathy as a result of, I couldn't even begin to think about stepping on a blade of grass because my feet hurt so bad. I mean,
Still today, your feet hurt that bad?
Oh, every day.
Okay.
But I do 10 to 15,000 steps a day, but I cannot begin to do it barefooted.
Okay, so here's the trick I was going to say for May, but I'll say it now since you brought this up.
Okay.
The other way that Donna figured out for people to get their bodies reconnected with that energy, and it sounds weird, I know, but just try it and see what happens, is to take a stainless steel spoon, because it's a metal that's conducting that electromagnetic energy, and rub it on the bottom of your feet. Now Gina's showing her spoon. Does it work, Gina? Yeah. So you rub this.
I put it on my back. Yeah, I do it all the time.
It actually works with helping any irregular energy. So energy can be flowing well, but it can also be what we call irregular. It can be reversed. It can be flowing the opposite direction. It can be stuck. It can be frozen. So the spoon helps with irregular energy, but it also helps the feet go, oh, I can connect that way. And it actually feels good, So try the stainless steel spoon, just rubbing it on the bottom of the feet. You can do it with socks on or with socks off. And that is another way to get grounded. This grounding mat might feel okay on your feet too.
Okay. I looked that up already, and I made
Yeah.
it. I have a dear friend who's a nurse at a VA in Nashville, and she is certified Reiki specialist.
Yeah. Nice.
When I was there last time, she gave me a singing bowl.
Nice. Yeah, that'll work too.
I use like every other night before I go to bed.
On your feet?
No, my hands.
On your
A
hands.
singing bowl. I'm not good.
Oh, okay. Oh, you do it this way. Okay. Because I have this bowl, and this bowl is a brass bowl.
Okay.
You might be able to hear it, but it actually is made for working with bodies. And when I tap it, it creates a vibration. So you can put these bowls on your feet and your hands too, and that kind of moves energy as well.
My feet are too big for my bowl. It's only that big.
Yeah. Yeah, good. I'm glad you're doing that. Sound therapy and sound healing and use of instruments and vibrations from instruments is awesome. And I also use some of that in my practice.
Say, Rita, would a more conductive metal be more efficient?
She studied that, and she says that stainless steel is the best. So I don't know. I'd have to ask that question though, Martin. So I will ask that question. Will a more conductive metal be better? I will ask that in my group and see what they say and why she recommends stainless steel over anything else. But there is a reason, and I can't remember what it is, but I'll get that answer for you.
Yeah, that's another thing we really have not tapped into that I thought about I don't know, the other week about, we've not really had anybody with, that does music therapy, right?
Yeah.
Because that auditory too, right? You have it all the tactile, but the auditory, that's another interesting thing to
I
me.
have someone in mind if you're looking for somebody.
Yeah, I love that referral because
Yeah,
I think that would be really interesting, right?
he works with these bowls and they are so amazing. And if you put them on your body and you just tap it, I can feel that vibration in my body. And what vibration, energies are vibrations. I mean, energies have vibrations and frequencies to them too. So when we're doing this on the body, it's bringing that vibration into the body, and it feels really good. Let me just say.
So I have a question for you going along that line. So when I go to get a pedicure, right?
Yeah.
And she does, which I usually love when people touch my feet and rub my feet,
Yeah.
and I like when she does that, but when she uses what am I thinking of? The gritty stuff,
Yeah. The sandpapery stuff.
yes,
Almost
and
done or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, when she uses the the liquid of it and she rubs it, the like the, not the loofah bar, but it's actually liquid that what am I thinking of? It's called
A scrub, like a scrub.
yeah, scrub. When she uses the scrub on my legs, I get the oddest sensation. Like it almost, it's not painful, but it like shoots through my whole body, and like it like I
Too
like,
much.
yeah. And so what is that about? Like I wouldn't have even known that, but I felt like it is an energy thing for me.
It probably is. I mean, there's a lot of energy points on the feet and the legs. So if sometimes that it's just too much, too quick,
Yeah.
and sometimes the body likes it to be softer, like more of a rub, versus that scrub. And, when it's harder and it's like, it's kind of a shock to the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So that really does then, it almost gives me a jolt, like as if I
Yeah.
got plugged into a battery. I'm like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
interesting. Anybody else? Good questions, guys.
Yeah. Very good questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I will get back with that one about the conductivity. But there is actually, I'm going to ask that question and I'll get an answer by the end of the day, I'm sure.
Sounds good.
I have a question. You
Okay.
were saying about the renal gland. One of the problems I had brain cancer. I'm in remission, and they shut down. So they have me on, I don't know, the natural, what it's supposed to be secreting. But I thought it would come back, and I had my doctor say probably not. That I'll probably be on those pills for the rest of my life.
What gland was it that shut down? The kidneys?
The adrenal.
Oh, the adrenal gland. Well, I say never. I mean, unless your adrenals are taken out of your body,
Okay.
if they're still in there,
They're still there.
they're not withered up like a little grape, or and they're dead, then I mean, Donna Eden would say never say never. We could, an energy work, we could work with it, with some energy, to see if we can get those adrenals to start to turn back on, right?
Yeah, because I'm tired of taking the pills, but I know I need to have to.
Well-
And then when you were talking about the chemicals, I lived in Trafford, PA, which is, by Monroeville, by Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
There's a bridge there, Westinghouse. My father worked down there, but they dumped a lot of their really bad stuff
Yeah.
underneath that bridge.
Yep.
And then they covered it. And my brother and I and a bunch of other people, we played baseball, softball,
Yeah.
anything you want. Well, my brother passed away. Nobody had cancer in our family. He passed away from oh shoot. Here we go. He passed away from cancer. I'll think about it in a minute.
Okay.
And I had brain cancer, but I'm in remission. So
Yeah.
I
Well-
thank God for that. But yeah, I was just curious because my sister was wondering. Yeah.
It's a good thing to be curious about. I mean, we all know that environmental chemicals impact animals and impact the human body, right? So if anybody wants to be in denial about that, then that I will have a longer discussion. But you can watch a million movies, not a million, but going back to Aaron Brockovich, but many, many others where people have investigated these things and found that they were not disposing correctly of these chemicals and they were letting them there. And what happens is they sit in the ground. I'm married to an environmental biologist, so I hear a lot about this, and he's very active in the world of environmental protection. So the chemicals that are buried there seep down into the ground and then seep into the groundwater. Okay. And that groundwater is what comes up. And yes, it gets through a filtration plant, but you know, if you test the water, I mean, I was just reading an article in the city paper. This woman did some research down in Washington, PA, around the families who live around the fracking industry down there. And she took urine samples and blood, I think mostly urine from them, tested their water, a couple other things, and found high levels of specific chemicals, the zenes, Z-E-N-Es, the benzene, like 4 or 5 different chemicals that are all cancer causing chemicals. So if anyone wants to sit here and deny that our industrial complex and what do you call it, industrialization hasn't caused human disease, it has. And not for everybody. Some people's systems can fight it easier than others, and it also depends on the concentration. But if you're playing and living and breathing on top of where chemicals are buried, you had very close proximity to that versus someone who didn't grow up right there, maybe 10, 15 miles. And she tested within 5 to 10 miles of these places. So start doing your research. I mean, and that's why people fight these companies, you know, because they cut corners like every company, you know, like, you know, they want to make the top dollar. So we're not going to do everything. And the past 4 to 8 years in particular, there's been a lot of turnbacks on environmental protections, you know, and companies can get away with releasing chemicals and not doing what they're supposed to do to protect the environment. You know, even the plastic company that's going up in Beaver, you know, that's going to be putting off a lot of chemicals when they are making that plastic up there. And you think Beaver in 5, 10 years from now, 15 years from now isn't going to have problems? They're going to have problems. So I think there's some truth to that. You know, that's my personal opinion. You can research it yourself, but there's a lot of research and a lot of evidence to show that is the case. That that's a contributing factor. Maybe not the only causation, but a strong contributing factor. When cows start to die and give birth to stillborn calves over and over and over again near these places, that's a problem. And it never happened before, right? So what do you think happened to humans?
Well, and we'll be getting more and more into that in the coming months, because I do sit also on a Cancer in the Environment committee here that's been going on for the last 2 years with researchers and organizations, and it's been very enlightening to me.
Right.
There's
a lot to talk about. They're talking about that, talking about pesticides. We didn't have pesticides until the 60s or 70s on our fruits and vegetables.
Right. And at the end of I think it's the end of April, we have a speaker coming from Women for the Healthy Environment coming.
Oh, that's a great group. I love that group.
Yeah, they're coming on, and Hannah is on the Cancer in the Environment committee with me. And so she's going to start introducing these subjects to you guys. And, you know, we have focus groups going on and some fact sheets, because, you know, we want to be able to give you information, but things to replace it, right? You know, we can't just live in a bubble. So you have to be able to look at products that are, you know, affordable and accessible. So we're digging into that coming up soon. So we're excited about that. So good segue, Shelley and Rita.
Yeah, right. Thank you so much, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in future I hope you can make it on the once a month on the first Wednesday of the month at noon.
Yep, something new, a new lunch thing. So join Rita for lunch and a little energy.
Yes, for sure.
All right.
If I find that answer out, Martin, I will send it to Wendy and she'll get it to you.
Sounds like a good idea. All right, so
they can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. So